The rover's camera saturated for half a second, and the feed froze in a bloom of white that had no place on Mars. Elena Cade knew the terrain by heart. She had spent 4 years staring at this quadrant of Elysium Planitia until the dust patterns felt familiar, almost domestic. Mars did not glare. It absorbed light, dulled it, scattered it into reds and tired browns. When something reflected hard enough to blind a calibrated sensor, it meant one of three things: ice, polished metal, or a mistake. "Confirm the spike," she said, leaning closer to the console as if proximity could improve resolution. The signal analyst hesitated. "It's not transient. Same coordinates. Same intensity." They pulled the rover to a halt. The mast rose. Secondary optics engaged. The object resolved itself not as a point, but as a line, unnaturally straight, stretching across the shallow basin like a scar that refused to heal. For kilometers long, less than 10 meters tall, vertical faces catching the low Martian sun and throwing it back in a clean, brutal reflection. Elena felt a tightening behind her eyes, the kind that preceded either revelation or embarrassment. Overlay geological models. The software complied, draping predicted erosion patterns and tectonic histories over the live image. None aligned. The structure cut across ancient lava flows without warping. It ignored the subtle undulations of the plain. It did not slump or fracture the way rock should after millions of years of freeze-thaw cycles and micrometeorite impacts. "Ridge," someone offered weakly. "No," Elena said. "Ridges don't cast shadows like that." The shadow was sharp-edged, a long, precise band that moved predictably with the sun's crawl. Not the ragged silhouette of stone, not the softened outline of sediment. A wall. The word hung in the control room without being spoken. Elena did not allow herself to think it, because thinking it meant inviting everything she had spent her career pushing away. Speculation, sensationalism, the easy thrill of impossible conclusions. "Advance at minimum speed," she said. "I want surface detail." The rover rolled forward, wheels biting into dust that had not been disturbed in perhaps 100 million years. As it closed the distance, the materiality of the structure asserted itself. The face was smooth but not polished. It bore microscopic pitting, evenly distributed, as if designed to manage stress. The color was wrong. Not metallic silver, but a muted graphite sheen that absorbed most wavelengths and rejected a narrow band with stubborn efficiency. "Spectral analysis?" Elena asked. A pause. Then, "Composition doesn't match known Martian minerals. High density. Complex lattice. No crystalline signatures we recognize." "Metallic?" she asked. "Not exactly. It's engineered." That word landed harder than wall. Ingénierie emplie d'intention. Design. A sequence of decisions made to satisfy constraints that were not purely natural. The communications lag meant Earth would not see this for minutes. Elena had time, dangerous time, to consider what this meant before the rest of humanity joined her in the moment. She ordered a drill sample. The bit whined as it met resistance far greater than expected. Microfractures radiated from the contact point, but refused to propagate. Whatever the material was, it distributed stress with infuriating elegance. When the drill finally extracted a sliver no thicker than a fingernail, the rover's internal sensors spiked again, not with reflected light, but with heat. The sample warmed itself, slowly, as if responding to the insult. "Power draw just changed," the engineer said. "The wall. Elena, it's doing something." A faint line appeared where the drill had bitten, glowing briefly, then fading. The surface smoothed itself, the damage erased with surgical indifference. Elena exhaled. "Send everything. Raw data. No filters." By the time Earth responded, the story had already escaped the room. It leaked through the inevitable cracks. An anomalous structure, unexplained properties, a refusal to fit inside existing frameworks. Headlines assembled themselves faster than peer review ever could. Ancient civilizations. Lost builders. Martian ancestors. Elena watched the feeds with a growing sense of unreality. She had dedicated her life to the slow, grinding accumulation of evidence. Now evidence was being drowned in metaphor. The wall did not care. Over the next sols, they mapped it. It extended farther than initially thought, curving gently with the planet's surface, maintaining its height with obsessive consistency. There were no visible seams, no joints, no breaks. It did not enclose anything. It did not defend. It simply existed, an imposition of order on a landscape defined by entropy. Could it be a geological artifact we don't understand yet? A committee member asked during the first emergency briefing. Elena chose her words carefully. Geology does not repair itself when damaged. It does not respond selectively to electromagnetic probes. And it does not reflect light in a band tuned. So precisely, it might as well be a signature. Whose signature? Someone else asked. That was the wrong question, and everyone knew it. They tried everything short of violence. Ground-penetrating radar slid off it like water. Acoustic pulses returned distorted, as if time itself had been folded. When they exposed a section to sustained heat, the wall darkened, absorbed the energy, and redistributed it along its length. Thermal cameras showed a wave racing away in both directions, vanishing beyond the horizon. It's not passive, Elena said quietly. It's not dead. Weeks passed. The initial frenzy gave way to a colder, more disciplined curiosity. Theories multiplied and collapsed. If the wall was artificial, it predated humanity by an impossible margin. Mars had lost its atmosphere billions of years ago. Any civilization capable of constructing something like this would have had to exist before the planet died, or survive after, in ways that defied known biology. One night, when the control room was quiet and Mars hung red and indifferent on the main display, Elena noticed something new. The reflection pattern had changed. At first, it was subtle, a deviation in intensity that could have been dismissed as dust. But the shift repeated, synchronized with the rover's own power cycles. When the rover slept, the wall dimmed. When it woke, the reflection brightened, as if acknowledging the presence. Is it responding to us? The analyst whispered. Elena did not answer. She authorized a simple experiment. They pulsed a low-energy radio signal at the wall, modulating it with a prime number sequence, so old it felt like a ritual. The signal vanished into the structure without echo. Then the wall answered. Not in radio, in light. A section brightened, then darkened, the pattern repeating, not primes but ratios. Distances, proportions that mapped cleanly onto the rover's own geometry, then expanded outward, scaling up, extrapolating. It's modeling us, Elena said, or acknowledging scale. The realization settled with a peculiar calm. The wall was not a remnant. It was not a ruin. It was functional. A week later, the message arrived, not from the wall but through it. The rover's internal clock desynchronized by precisely 1 microsecond. Then another. The error propagated through the system, subtle but intentional. When corrected, it revealed a pattern, a distortion in time so slight it would have gone unnoticed anywhere else. Except Elena had built the timing architecture herself. She recognized the signature immediately. It was not data in the human sense. It was context. The wall was not communicating facts. It was offering a frame of reference. They spent days decoding the distortion, translating the language of differential time into something that could be rendered visually. When they succeeded, the result was not an image of Mars, or of the wall, or of any creature. It was a curve that described atmospheric loss over geological time, magnetic field decay, solar flux increase, the slow arithmetic of planetary death. It's a record, someone said. A warning. Elena shook her head. Not a warning. A measurement. The next curve overlaid the first. Earth. Projected. Modeled. Extended forward. The room went silent as the implications assembled themselves. The wall was older than Mars's demise because it had been built to observe it, to quantify the failure modes of worlds. By whom? The committee chair asked. Elena considered the question, then answered the one that mattered. By something that does not live on planets. The wall was not a monument to a civilization. It was infrastructure. Over the following months, Similar anomalies were quietly identified. On the moon, on asteroids, at Lagrange points where gravity balanced into uneasy stillness. Always the same material. Always the same indifferent geometry. Always watching. Humanity had not stumbled upon ruins. It had tripped over a survey. The wall on Mars was not meant for Martians, ancient or otherwise. It was not meant for humans either. It was a ruler laid against the universe, a baseline against which change could be measured with merciless precision. When the public finally learned the truth, the reaction was not panic, but something more unsettling: relief. The need to believe in predecessors had been replaced by the comfort of being noticed. Elena did not share that comfort. She stood alone in the control room, watching the wall catch the Martian sunrise and throw it back into space, a narrow beam aimed at nothing in particular. "They're not coming," she said softly to the empty room. The wall did not respond. It did not need to. It had already done its job.